I caught my entitled ex-girlfriend cheating on me after we've been together for 11 years, and now that we're broken up, she's demanding that I fund her new lifestyle with her new boyfriend by paying for all of her bills, as well as moving out of my own house so that she and her new boyfriend can get back on their feet. But once I say no to her and tell her that I'm not gonna do that, things escalate in a way that I honestly never expected. Here's what happened. Okay, so I found out that my girlfriend of 11 years was cheating on me with an unemployed dude of all people. I'm not rich, but I provide her a good lifestyle, and I paid for most of her bills. I also provided a nice place for her to live. I paid for her nails and hair to be done regularly, and we had dates every single weekend with couple vacations every year. Now, she got used to that lifestyle and wanted to keep living it despite cheating with a broke dude. She didn't admit to the cheating, but I caught on to it, and once it was clear I was done with her, the entitlement really started to show. She said because I had family in the area and she didn't, I should be the one to move out, but I should also continue paying the bills to give her and the new guy a chance to get on their feet. She also insisted on keeping my dogs and told me I could only see my own dogs if I asked the new guy. But since they didn't have any money, I needed to continue paying for food and veterinarian bills. Well, instead of those weird demands, I kicked her out and I kept my dogs. Now, at that point, she was angry and still felt entitled to my income. After I kicked her out of my place, she claimed she was forced to quit her job because I forced her to relocate. And then she tried to sue me for lost wages, which did not work out in her favor. I mean, you would think that she'd stop at this point, but she didn't. She contacted my work and threatened to sue them, stating that their employee's action was costing her everything, and tried to insist that they settle outside of court with her for $100,000, which, by the way, she didn't even make that much money. But instead, my work filed harassment charges against her. Now, you would think she would stop at that point, but she still didn't. She started messaging every family member of mine that she could find, told them I cost her everything out of spite just because she moved on with someone else, and that the least they could do is send her money to help her get a place and pay rent. When that didn't work, she went online and begged for people to send money to her Cash App so that she can get the help she needs with a place to live. And she even claimed that this was a domestic violence situation. Now, I don't understand how she doesn't understand that any financial support I gave her would end if she cheated on me. We were not married and we don't have any kids. I've supported her for years, so I owe her nothing. So I really don't owe it to her to help her out with their new relationship in getting them on their feet and establishing themselves, which surprisingly somehow comes as a shock to her, despite the fact that she literally ruined everything. Oh man, this entitled girlfriend is insane if she thought she could seriously get away with this. So let me get this straight. She had a boyfriend who was clearly very well off, and she decided to cheat on him with someone who was broke, while also still expecting the original poster to like fund her life, as well as move out of his house and give up his dogs. Like, what are you talking about? That is crazy talk. She was with you for 11 years too. Like, you had that level of crazy right next to you for that long, and you probably had no idea that she would do something like that. So truly, I'm so sorry this happened to you, but I'm also so glad that you got away from her, because she clearly thought she could get away with this in some kind of way. And that, in my opinion, is so incredibly dumb. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My sister's husband basically stole a TV during a Black Friday sale, and right now I'm realizing I'm the only one in the family who has a problem with this. So at this point, I'm wondering if I'm overreacting because this situation has seriously upset me. Here's what happened. Okay, so this just happened during Black Friday, and I'm honestly still processing it. My sister and her husband, who we will call Mike, went to Walmart for their Black Friday sale. According to them, it was absolute chaos. There were hundreds of people everywhere. There were barely any workers, and it was a total mess. Mike managed to grab one of the doorbuster deals, a huge 65-inch TV that was marked down from $899 to $399. Apparently, the checkout lines were so insane that people just started walking out, like literally just pushing their carts through without paying because there weren't enough workers at the registers and security couldn't handle it. And you know what? My sister and Mike joined them. They walked out with a $400 TV because apparently everybody else was doing it, and according to them, the store should have been better prepared. The part that really bothers me is that they were bragging about it at a family dinner yesterday, and this is right in front of their kids and my kids. They were laughing about their amazing deal like it was some funny story about outsmarting the system. I pulled my sister aside and told her this was basically stealing, and it sets a terrible example for the kids. She then got defensive, saying I'm being dramatic, and that big stores expect this kind of loss during sales, and that it is not really stealing because the store couldn't handle their their own sale properly. Mike then jumped in saying I need to chill out and that I'm probably jealous I didn't get any of their supposed deals. I'm honestly disgusted by the whole thing. Later, my kids were asking me if it's okay to not pay for stuff when stores are really busy, which just proves my point about what message this sends. My sister hasn't talked to me ever since I called her out, and my parents are saying that I should apologize for making drama and that this is somehow none of my business, but I really feel like someone needs to say something. So seriously, am I overreacting here? Because right now I'm very frustrated and I don't know what to do. No, you are not overreacting. I hate people who steal, and this is honestly like straight up thievery. And I know for a fact if my sibling was bragging about stealing a TV from like some kind of store, I would be losing my mind on them. I would be like, wait a second, why would you do that? Because you proved it yourself. This sets a horrible precedent for the other kids in the room. And the fact that your sister was trying to justify this as if the store was ready for this kind of loss, like that is crazy to me, and there is no good excuse for that. So no, you're definitely not overreacting, because if I was in your shoes, I would do the exact same thing. My manager complains that I need to start clocking out on time, despite the fact that the person who's supposed to relieve my night shift keeps showing up late. So now I've decided to maliciously comply, showing my manager once and for all how stupid their rules are. Here's what happened. Okay, for a bit of context, I work overnights at a well-known gym franchise that I will not name. My typical shift is from 10 o'clock p.m. until 6 o'clock in the morning. Usually there is always supposed to be 2 people on the night shift together, but lately my coworkers have been calling off a lot, causing me to be in the gym alone all night. My coworker, let's call her Sam, comes in at 6 o'clock in the morning when I get off. Well, here's the problem. Sam doesn't usually come in on time, and she is usually always 10 to 15 minutes late. So onto the problem at hand. Because Sam comes in late, I tend to have to stay clocked in past 6 o'clock in the morning. Additionally, since I'm usually alone at night, I can't get any important tasks done until Sam comes in. My boss noticed my time cards and got very upset that I haven't been clocking out right at 6 o'clock in the morning. He made me feel awful, despite constantly being on the blunt end of all his scheduling messes. So I told him, okay, I'll start leaving exactly at 6 o'clock. So that's what I've been doing. I've been leaving the gym entirely unattended until somebody gets there, and most of the time, no one does for a while. So now members are confused, and my manager doesn't know what to do, considering he's the one who scolded me for staying past 6 o'clock. He thought that I would just clock out and stay off the clock, but seriously, why would I do that? I was not going to take the fall for someone else consistently being late. The best part about it is that he won't fire me or write me up, because technically speaking, this is exactly what he wanted. Yeah, I can't stand managers who act like this, who complain about a problem that they are literally causing. Like seriously, why on earth is Sam still working there? If she can't show up on time and do her job, then she's gotta go and you've gotta find somebody who will. Like seriously, what a massive waste of time and energy. So it also just doesn't make sense to me that the original poster is catching any heat for this, because they're not the problem. They're willing to stay until Sam decides to like go in for work. But here your boss is being like, wow, I can't believe you stayed past 6. You better stop that right now and clock out when you're supposed to. So I really love the way the original poster handled this, because this really did shove it right back in their manager's face. An entitled client claims that my company is moving too fast when we're doing our job, stating that we were being unsafe of all the people around us and that we needed to slow down. So we decided to maliciously comply, resulting in us taking nearly 3 weeks on a job that could have taken 4 days. And I've honestly never felt better about putting somebody in their place. Here's what happened. Okay, so this happened about 2 years ago. I work in construction, but more specifically, I cut concrete. A lot of people aren't familiar with my job, but all you really need to know is that I don't pour any concrete. I use big diesel and hydraulic powered saws to cut and remove it. Now, I work for a relatively small company of about 15 people, and we are the company to use for concrete cutting and removal in our area. I was the first employee hired at this company, and my bosses are amazing. They've been in this industry for about 25 to 30 years respectively. We will call them Brad and Cody for the sake of the story. They know what they're doing, and they still get out and work in the field and will outwork any of our employees. We were awarded a no-bid contract at a very large facility to cut and remove a very large section of their outdoor slab because it had cracked. Now, this was routine for us. We could do it in our sleep, but it was still a large project. The reason we were given the contract but not held to a number was because they wanted it done right and fast, and they knew that we were the guys to do this even though we aren't always the cheapest. The customer also requested us to bring extra equipment and specialized saws just in case, and trust me, this will be important later on. The day comes that we're supposed to start, and they wanted us on site at 6:30 in the morning for a safety meeting. Brad and Cody went out while I stayed back to get my crews ready for the day, all before heading out to meet them. When I arrived at 8 o'clock o'clock in the morning, they were still standing by their trucks just talking. I asked them how the safety meeting went, and they said that no one had shown up yet. Well, finally, they got there at around 9 o'clock in the morning and didn't even acknowledge that they were late. We met the guy who was in charge of the project, and for the sake of the story, we'll call him John. John said during the safety meeting that there would always be a few people around from his company to watch us while we worked. We figured it was weird, but honestly, no big deal. We ran a routine safety meeting after, and it was now time to work. Well, we got about a third of the project completed in one day. Now, the entire time we were working, there were no less than 25 people standing around watching us work. We kept joking with them to just set up bleachers, as it would be easier to watch that way. They made us call it quits at about 4 o'clock p.m. so that they could go home. Right about this time, we started to figure there was something up with these guys. They didn't care that we didn't get started until late, and they wanted us to end early. Yet a big part of us being there was to get it done fast. Either way, we figured we would still be able to get it done in about 3 days and make record time for a project of this size, all while making a fair amount of money for ourselves. The next morning, as we were getting ready to head out for the day, Brad received an email. The email said,
"While we can tell that your company are master operators with their machines, we feel as if they are operating in an unsafe manner by running multiple machines at once and request that they slow down to maintain safe working conditions. They also didn't try to make sure our supervisors felt that they were safe throughout the day."
Now, when Brad read this, he was pissed. We were called in to get things done fast, and not once had we done a single thing that could be considered unsafe. When we got to the job that day for the safety meeting, Brad changed from saying, "Oh, screw these guys, they don't know anything about what we're doing," all the way over to say, "Okay, we're going too fast, then we will slow it right down for them." At the safety meeting, John, who's the same guy who sent the email, he looked at us and said,
"Okay, everyone knows what we're doing, so let's get it done."
He tried to end the safety meeting with that, but that's when my boss spoke up and said to him, "Hold on, since no one's man enough to tell us in person and just want to hide behind their emails, let's get this straight. We're going too fast and we're unsafe for you?" When Brad said this, John became visibly uncomfortable. He then stammered out,
"Well, there was a lot of people standing around and watching you yesterday, and I just felt that someone would get hurt if they decided to get closer to watch."
Now, I had set up safety cones with red danger tape strung between it and told no one to cross. We had taken proper safety precautions. If they didn't feel comfortable to have that many people watch, then maybe don't have that many people standing there watching and literally doing nothing. All Brad said to them was, "Okay, we will be real slow, and if someone crosses our line, we shut the site down for an hour for another safety meeting." And it was at this point we decided to cue our malicious compliance. As we started our day, something to note about our saws, our tractors, and other heavy equipment is that we have the ability to turn up the idle, or in other words, we can turn up or down the speed of the motors. So instead of everything moving normally and how it should, which is relatively fast, everything is moving at a turtle speed. Brad told us all that if we ever speed up our machines, then he would kick us off the job. Even Cody, his business partner. I was cutting with our saw, while Cody was in the excavator to remove the pieces that I cut, with Brad in the skid steer to haul the pieces to the dump truck. I would cut the concrete into 6 foot by 6 foot pieces, which would normally take me about 20 to 30 minutes, but it was taking upwards of about 3 hours for one piece. Then, after I would cut it, Cody in the excavator would turn his machine on, slowly turn and stop, and then, as excruciatingly slow as possible, move the stuff that he needs to move, and then shut down his machine, all without idling up. Then, Brad would start his machine and repeat the same process to load into the dump truck. So basically, you get the point. It was painfully slow. After the first piece was ready to be pulled out, and Cody started the process, John, who was just sitting on the sideline pale-faced, crossed over my line to ask if we were really serious, at which point Brad screamed for us to shut down, and we all stepped away for an hour for a safety meeting. John crossed the line 3 times in the first day, and 8 times total throughout the project, while his employees never once crossed the danger line. So basically, John was effectively the only person that he had to worry about in his email about getting too close and being in danger. John just kept saying to us,
"No way you guys are serious. What happened to what you were doing yesterday? You were so much more efficient."
Brad then just said, "I have it in writing that you felt unsafe, so the remainder of this project will be operating at a safe pace." Well, this ended up taking about 3 weeks to finish at that horrible speed instead of the 3 to 4 days at full speed. Now, the best part about all of this, the head of the facility came out to see what was taking us so long, and we showed him the email, and he himself agreed with what we were doing. He told us that he hates John, and that he's insufferable to work around. He said the success of this project is directly tied to John's yearly bonus. He asked how much we were charging them, and we told him that per piece of equipment and truck, as well as the saw that we use, we're billing them by the hour, and that John had requested that we have nearly double the amount of equipment than we actually needed or used. The facility head just laughed and said, "Fantastic. I will make sure that you're paid in full. Don't go easy on us with the bill." So that's how we maliciously complied our way into charging about $200,000 for a job that should have realistically only been worth about $45,000. I even got a solid $20,000 bonus because Brad and Cody are fantastic bosses, and they knew that we were making a killing on that job. Wow, that's a good example of maybe you should just keep your mouth shut if you don't know what's actually going on, because John in this story absolutely just put his foot in his mouth. For starters, literally nobody on the site was doing anything dangerous, so the fact that John would be like, "Wow, you guys are moving a little fast for me. Maybe slow things down and be more careful." And it's like, dude, you literally don't know what you're talking about, and you yourself are only gonna get in the way. So truly, I find this story fantastic because sometimes this is what it takes, because people like John make working environments absolutely a nightmare to deal with. Am I the jerk for not allowing my husband's friend to bring her dog to our Thanksgiving dinner? Because right now she is freaked out and claimed that she will no longer be showing up. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so my husband asked if we could host Thanksgiving this year. We usually don't host because our apartment is small and we don't really have any guest parking, but he was really excited. We used to host events at our old place and it was a lot of fun. Most of our guests are friends, and everyone agreed to bring a dish. One of his friends, let's call her Chelsea, volunteered to make the turkey. On Thanksgiving Day, one of his friends asked if she could bring her cat, and I said no pets because, as I mentioned, we live in a small apartment, and this is a dinner gathering. I didn't think it would be comfortable for anyone, including the pets. My husband suggested that we also let Chelsea know about our no pet policy, and I agreed with him. I was a bit hesitant though, because Chelsea is one of those people who likes to bring her dog everywhere, and if she can't bring the dog, then she arranges for a dog sitter. Now, in the past, she has caused some tension when her dog wasn't allowed at other events. I told my husband to text her to check if she was planning on bringing her dog, as I didn't think that it would be a good idea. I also offered to talk to her myself because my husband isn't as comfortable with confrontations. He texted her and she called afterwards. He then put her on speakerphone, and I could tell that she was upset from the tone in her voice. Chelsea told me that she always brings her dog everywhere, and I pointed out that wasn't entirely true, since we've been to several events where she did not bring the dog, which is true by the way. She then asked why we hadn't mentioned this before the invitation, and I explained that I didn't think it was necessary to mention it, since I assumed it was understood that bringing pets to a dinner without asking isn't typical, especially when we don't have any pets ourselves. At this point, she got upset and said to us, "Well, I guess you'll have Thanksgiving without a turkey then." When she said this, I was surprised, because it felt like she was trying to pressure me into letting her bring the dog, implying that she wouldn't come without it. I don't like being pressured, especially in my own home, so I calmly responded that I was sorry she felt that way. She then immediately said, "No, I feel sorry for you, since you won't have a turkey," and then she hung up on us. So am I the jerk for saying no to her bringing her dog? I feel like I was setting a reasonable boundary, but now I'm second guessing myself and I seriously don't know what to do. No, you are not the jerk here. Chelsea is being so overdramatic. You live in a small apartment. It's not like you have all this room for people to come around, especially her dog. And by the way, this is not going to be an all-day event. Just leave the dog at home and then come yourself. Like, it really isn't that hard. And the fact that she's like, "Okay, we'll enjoy Thanksgiving without a turkey then," to me that shows exactly how immature she really is. And in my opinion, I think you dodged a train with this lady. So no, you're not the jerk for setting this boundary, because in my opinion, this seriously is not that big of a deal. My girlfriend blocked every girl on my Instagram while I was in the shower, and now I'm honestly so confused and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my girlfriend and I started dating in February and moved in together in October. I don't really have anything worth keeping secret from her, so I'm comfortable leaving my phone around knowing that she knows my password. I noticed this morning that my Instagram follower count was off, and noticed that every female was unfollowed or even blocked. Now these were all co-workers and friends I made in the army, as well as some family friends. Well, I confronted her and she started crying and blaming it on trust issues. I have never cheated in any relationship, and I do my best to maintain mutual trust. I've been thinking all day while she's at work, and I feel like she broke my trust permanently. She also doesn't let me play video games with my male friends anymore because she apparently feels left out. So right now, I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, because at this point, I really don't know what to do. Oh boy, this is definitely a weird one. For starters, what your girlfriend is doing is unbelievably toxic. The women that you're following on Instagram are not people you're gonna cheat on her with. They are literally co-workers and family friends and like friends you made in the army. You know, people you're not gonna have any kind of relationship with. So that first and foremost is already pretty weird, but it's the fact that she's not allowing you to play video games with your guy friends, all because she feels left out. Like, that for me is a massive red flag that I cannot ignore for a second, because from the sounds of it, it really seems like she's trying to isolate you from everybody. And I really think she's just lying when she's like, oh, I feel left out of your gaming sessions. It's like, what are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. Because let's flip the script for a second. If she had some activity with her girlfriends and you suddenly stepped in and said, wait, you can't do that, I feel left out. Or if you even went on her Instagram account and blocked and unfollowed every guy that she's following, like, that literally would be so crazy it's not even funny. So yeah, the way your girlfriend's acting is really weird, and in my opinion, you definitely do not deserve that in the slightest. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.